Yeah.
And so it's little adjustments like that.
I think that's a great, you could talking about passive income as well. And there is a big difference between a business owner and somebody who has basically created their own income, right? And
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's huge because I also lecture in my background's actually economics. Part of that came because of my parents were, you've got to go to university, you've got to get the safe job, the 4 weeks a year holiday pay. And I did it for 18 months and hated every single minute of it. And now 23 years later, they still ask me when I'm going back to my real job. And
Right?
yeah, it's just generational, right? And I'm actually hoping that my daughter, both my husband and I, own our own businesses. And I'm hoping that she'll look to that as a passive income or a safe haven as opposed to working for somebody else. Because as we've seen over COVID, at that point, anybody can say, sorry, your income's gone. You had it obviously 3 times before you even started with a franchise.
Yeah. And it's again, you talk about perspective. Back when my wife and I were franchisees, the average Domino's pizza was about $250,000 to buy or build one. And because we didn't know any better, we were buying ourselves a $60,000 a year job. And so it's like, that was the payoff. But now I look back and I have a couple amazing students from Australia and brother and sister that are now franchisees with Domino's. And years ago when I was putting them through some of the courses and they heard my story about Domino's Pizza, their mom would come up and said, you've got to meet my daughter. You got to meet my son. My daughter's just becoming a franchisee. She started with corporate in Australia for when she was 14, worked her way up in the stores being a customer service rep. And that's how, 95% of franchisees start in Domino's. You can't buy a franchise. You have to earn the right to be qualified. And so she had worked her way up. And when I got to meet them a few months later, and all of a sudden her and her brother were now, they had 2 stores. They were about to buy their 3rd. And we started comparing notes. See, my store, the most we ever did in one year, our big year was about $550,000. And our best profit margin was 12%. So not a lot of money, especially for the hours we were both putting in.
Yeah.
And here these 2 young people, because they'd learned to do it right, they had great mentors. All their slowest store was doing over $1 million a year.
Wow.
And their profit margins at that level are about 20% per store. And I'm like, world of differences and good on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also because there is more availability of information. There are more mentors out there who are able to step away from being operational and now can pass on that education and that mentoring process. I think
Yeah.
is a huge
Well, yeah,
curve.
when I was a driver and I knew I wanted to become a manager, and because my